to be the chief guest for the function and also to deliver the inaugural address for this national conference. I request our Sri C. Achalendra Reddy Garu, IFS, Director CIPS in charge, to preside over the inaugural session. Before I hand over the session to the Director and the Chairman of this session, I would like to give a brief introduction about our chief guest. Sir, Shri K. Padmanabhaya, former Home Secretary, Government of India. He served Government of India as Joint Secretary Petroleum, Joint Secretary Power, and also in different capacities. The government asked him to chair an advisory committee of international experts on reconstruction and rehabilitation of the earthquake affected areas. The committee's report served as blueprint for the entire rehabilitation and reconstruction work with aid from the World Bank. Subsequently, he worked as Secretary Civil Aviation, Chairman of both Air India and Indian Airlines, and as Union Home Secretary and Secretary J&K during 1994-1997. By 1994, the entire civil administration and political process in the Kashmir Valley was in disarray, and insurgency was at its peak. As Union Home Secretary, he played an extremely crucial role in reviving the political process in J&K state during 94-97. And in holding the very first elections in the insurgency-ridden state after a gap of 9 years. His work received nationwide recognition, and he was awarded the Shiromani Award for National Development Integration and the Priyadarshini Award for Outstanding Public Service in 1996. After retirement in 1997, he was appointed as the Government of India representative for Naga peace talks. He persuaded the Naga rebel leadership, who were based abroad for decades, to come back to India, persuaded them to move away from the rigid stand of sovereignty, continued the dialogue with patience and perseverance, and persuaded them to continue the ceasefire, which led to peace in Nagaland and Naga inhabited areas of the Northeast. He relinquished this post on 31st August 2009 on completion of the tenure. He also chaired the Committee on Police Reforms in 2000, the Committee on Reorganization of SSP, and the Committee to Review the Working of National Institute of Urban Management. Most of his recommendations on police reforms have been accepted for implementation by the government. In 2008, he was awarded Padma Bhushan by the President of India for outstanding contributions to the nation in the field of civil service. He is born in the year 1938 in a village of Krishna district, Andhra Pradesh. With this, we feel fortunate that Sri K. Padmanabhaya Garu is here to inaugurate this national workshop. Now I request our director to take over the session and conduct the proceedings. Thank you. I request Nagarjyoti to give away the bouquet of flowers. I request Swati to give away the bouquet to our director.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Chairman, Court of Governors, Administrative Staff College in India, Shri K. Padmanabhaya Garu, distinguished guest participants, especially my predecessor Chakrapani Garu, and the distinguished guest, former DGP and Commissioner of Hyderabad Police, Shri M.V. Krishna Rao Garu, and all guests from different states, administrative training institutes and state innovation councils, and various other NGOs, our knowledge partners, institutions from various other like Puducherry and Bhubaneswar, Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. And one and all, a very good morning to all of you. This conference, National Conference on Strengthening the Processes for Identification of Innovations and Replication of them, is a small step from Center for Innovations in Public Systems, which is an autonomous center of Administrative Staff College of India, established in May 2010 on the recommendations of the 13th Finance Commission. Friends, I thank you all for taking time from your busy schedule and making it and present here to not only learn from each other, but share some new thoughts on innovations and processes that are being taken up in your respective states and organizations. Sir, today we have officials from about 13 states, and about 30 participants have come, and we have about 8 resource persons, because sir, what we thought, instead of CIPS sharing the best practices, innovative practices with the distinguished participants, we thought that they should hear from the horse mouth, those who are the leaders who have done something special and contributed to the society, certain innovations and best practices. So we invited about 8 persons, sir, as a knowledge partners to share their ideas with our distinguished participants. While recommending the CIPS, establishment of CIPS in the 2010, the Finance Commission has observed, 13th Finance Commission, about the state of things in India at that point of time. In its wisdom, what their observations, because this is like a Gita or Bible or whatever you may call it, these can be repeatedly shared and discussed and spell out in different fora. I feel that they are important and I repeat them, even though you might have heard about them. The 13th Finance Commission observed that there is not enough effort to isolate the conceptual and operational lessons from different experiments and successful policies across the nation. This was their observation before recommending the establishment of the CIPS at Hyderabad in the SK. The cross-fertilization of ideas is not taking place at sufficient rate and scale. The systems of training and education in various public administrative institutions have not incorporated the lessons of various innovations adequately and systematically. This is the most important point from ATI's point of view, Administrative Trainings Institute point of view, maybe even State Innovation Council's point of view. The another important observation what it made was the need for synergy between public, private and civil society organizations has not reached the required desired levels. The synergy what we expect in any developing or aspiring nation, so that was not up to the mark. That was the observation made by 13th Finance Commission. Many good ideas attempted once are aborted and given short public memory are not recalled very often. This is, as we know, in government systems, very committed, passionate officials are there in various departments, not one, two, or various departments. Unfortunately, their good practices which they started as a personal level and also integrated into the working of the system, but somehow it gets by passage of time discontinued, and they are not recorded and well recognized. Incentives for innovations in public systems are not enough and sufficient visibility is not given to change agents. This is another observation. Sufficient attention is not being paid to build leadership that spots innovations and sustains them, and where necessary spawns new innovation. As we all know that systems, at least from my personal experience, not much encouragement is given to innovators in public systems. They say that, okay, things are moving, why you wanted to deviate from this and do something extra, something like that generally. But of course, there are always good people at the top level who encourage such things, but it is not to the desired level. So in order to address these concerns, observations, the Commission recommended for setting up the CIPS at Hyderabad. Just to share a few of our mission and objectives. CIPS mission is that to identify, recognize and promote innovations in public systems in the area of management of people and as well as processes, that is cost and quality systems, across various states to improve the well-being of the common people. Ultimately, it is for the common man we have to work. And to catalyze, trigger lateral learning for initiating action research projects, macro-level changes, innovations in the policies and practice across the states. To provide a range of learning opportunities and services to various stakeholders for building capacity through training programs, conferences, seminars, surveys, publications, and development of reports. To facilitate sharing of international experiences and exposure to best practice in governance and public systems. Keeping these points in view, objectives, we have started with this national conference on innovation, strengthening the process of identifying and replicating innovations. Now, just a few formal academic type definitions I would like to share with you with the permission of the chair. Definition of innovations as far as CIPS and as far as public systems is concerned, because innovations sometimes may go into a laboratory type of innovations or physics, chemistry, biology and all. But we are mostly in government systems concerned with a definition of innovation is a little bit different, application oriented rather than publication oriented. So this is the little distinction we may have to make it. So therefore conceptually also, academically also, we should be sound enough when we wanted to undertake replication of innovations and scaling up them in the society. Innovations in public systems can be defined as implementation of a new or significantly improved products, services or way of doing things, either within the structure of the public sector itself or in the way in which public services are provided. So, and then as far as we, in this August House we are gathered, we need to know that types of innovations in public systems, what are they? Just we can list out, there could be many, but major things I would like to share on this occasion. One is service innovations. In the next ongoing, the sessions which follow, we will discuss and debate at length all these things, but just I would like to spell out. Service innovations, service delivery innovations, administrative or organizational innovations, conceptual innovations, policy innovations, and systemic innovations. These are our limited, as far as public systems are concerned, in the service of the poor and underprivileged or common man. These are the innovations required in the public systems so that our delivery systems are very efficiently managed. So what we feel in CIPS is that CIPS needs to emerge as a trusted solution provider in managing the innovations in public systems, and we expect the same thing from administrative training institutes as well as the state innovation councils. Now, just to share a few what we have started doing. Current replication efforts which we have initiated for the last 2-3 months in a vigorous manner. One is establishment of vision centers with the collaboration from Arvind Eye Care, and we are doing with the SKIPA, the Sri Krishna Institute of Public Administration, Ranchi is our anchor organization. And then Chhattisgarh, IPU is there in the training ophthalmic assistants there at Chhattisgarh. Then ecological sanitation, EcoSan systems, which my predecessor Chakrapani Saab has started, biodigesters also. Then we went to the use of plastics and fly ash in road construction. This is a known technology, but unfortunately that we will discuss in the sessions why it is not being adopted in a large scale by government organizations. Then career guidance and counseling centers program. This is a very innovative thing which we found out, which Telangana Higher Education Department in collaboration with the UNDP, they have started, and this is a wonderful practice which we have gone and witnessed, and even the government departments are convinced to adopt this innovation in their departments. Then Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences, their model of establishing tribal schools is being now the high power delegation is visiting next week, will be visiting the AP, from AP to the Bhubaneswar. Luckily, Dr. Rautra is here, Chief Executive Officer. And they are going to see and replicate about 7 schools as they are, the total just pluck and plant type of basis, because they were convinced about the superior systems followed there, the present tribal schools. Then we have been given, we take little bit of pride, with your permission, that the AP government has given a framing of, now you all know 36%, or it is going to become 40% population in urban cities. So urban greening has become developed a specialized subject. It is not just planting trees here and there, but to control air pollution. You all know, I'm not going to the details, how difficult it is to live in Delhi and many other cities which have become unlivable rather. So this policy we have framed and submitted the draft. So once it is approved by the government of AP, it can, with minor changes, be adopted or changed, or can be done in all other mega cities as well as all other states. So we are just aiming, last meeting will be on 30th this month only. We have to present before the municipal commissioners and the principal secretaries. We will be going there and presenting the policy which we, CIPS, ASCII has drafted, and this thing. So these are our this thing. Then district cancer detection center, in collaboration with the NRIs, we are going to establish one district cancer for the sake of poor people detection center at the Suryapet district headquarters. Then other zero investment innovations for evaluation with Aravinda Society, they are also here. We are going to collaborate with them. Replication of Kerala infrastructure technology, this was of course started by my predecessor Chakrapani sir, and we are going to vigorously pursue it, sir. And with these few thoughts which I shared with you, I now request sir to take over and just address the inaugural address. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
The director CIPS, Mr. The advisor, Mr. Veerabhadrudu, my old friend Chakrapani, he was the first director of CIPS, M.V. Krishna Rao, another colleague, and some known faces are there, but most of you I really do not know. Good morning to you and a very hearty welcome to Hyderabad. It's a small but select group, I can see that. And I would take you to be the hardcore people, hardcore people committed to innovation. That's why you have come for this, even though it is 30. Numbers do not matter. What matters is the commitment. Why does a man want to innovate, actually? I mean, he's itching to do something. That's why he innovates. Or why should a man innovate? I think innovation would come if there is a commitment to deliver. Whatever job you are doing, if you have a strong will to deliver something, a good and efficient product in proper time, if you want to do it, then you put on your thinking cap and then keep on thinking, what do I do to see that it is achieved in an efficient resource, better resource utilization and in time, and a best product, how do I deliver? So first of all, there has to be a will to deliver, whatever you are doing. It may be a service, it may be a product, it may be a process, whatever it is. He gave a definition of innovation. I was reading a newspaper, this one, Mexico is not a great country, compared to India and all that, though people say that Mexico is one of the growing economies and all that. I read a news item saying that there is a metro in Mexico. Now what they are doing is to reduce the urban pollution and the urban heat. They are growing vertical gardens all along the pillars, the metro pillars. In Hyderabad you see so many metro pillars. They are an abomination, they are an eyesore. But why don't you have, Mexico could get the idea. I think everybody should get it. There is no great thing about it. But somebody must have thought, these damn things are there, it's an eyesore. The temperatures have to be brought down. So what do we do? Delhi, the metro is there. Again, the same thing. They are all concrete blocks. Now, I think that is what is innovation, a good example of innovation. And before I go, I thought one or two other examples I would give you. In the mid-1970s, I was district collector of Nasik. Then what used to happen is, people would come from the villages to the district headquarters, like people would go to the state capitals, like that the poorer fellows would come to the collector and then hang around that place, asking for their job to be done. It would never be got done. So they would say, you come tomorrow, you come day after. So I just once thought, where does this fellow stay? He has come from a village which is about 30 miles away. Raat ko kahan thehrta hai ye? Then I found out some of them, good farmers, they sleep in the verandas of some place, some, cooperative bhavan or sahakari bhavan would be there. And in that 3-4 beds would be there, they would all be occupied. So these chaps sleep in the veranda. And then next day again they come to the office and then find out what happened. If it is not done again, a third day, they stay there. So I had given instructions, which is very common, saying that, look, if there is an application from anybody, we should have a time limit within which we should dispose of. Let us say a time limit of 15 days. So I insisted on that. But thereafter what has happened is, in spite of that, there would still be cases which would not be done. The fellow would say, no sir, all information has not been given, this, that and all that. And that's how, and in their anxiety to find out what has happened to their application, people come to the headquarters. So when a man comes to the headquarters, I told all my officers, when you meet him, take his application. If you can do it, you do it yourself. If you cannot do it, it belongs to the executive engineer or a health department or something else. Mark it to him, speak to him on the phone is there, and tell him that the collector expects a reply on this within 7 days, because he has called that fellow again on the 8th day. So if you don't give a reply, the collector would get very serious with you. So this is what I said. Now, initially it didn't work, but it worked very well. You ask the engineer himself, how much time does it take to solve this? Does it take 7 days? Does it take 10 days? Does it take 15 days? Okay, you give that time. And then we told that chap, the farmer who had come, but it's a difficult thing, it would take 15 days. So come on 14th January and come straight to my office. I would get it, I would deliver the thing. So it worked. It worked well. I think this is innovation, in a way, Now, if it can be practiced then in 1970s, why can't it be practiced elsewhere? Now, when the emergency came, Indira Gandhi imposed, what is called 20-point program. A number of you must be familiar with this 20-point program. And the 20-point program, most of them are excellent programs. One of them is, national permits for transport. Some, disconnected things also were there in that. But what I did was, in my office, just behind my chair, I put a board. There were about 18 points on that. I sort of did not know Indira Gandhi was going to come back with those things. One of the directors in the National Academy of Administration, who was a batchmate of mine, joint director, Yugandhar, he had come to see me. And he saw that board. He said, Padam, what is all this? He said. And I told him, these are my priorities for the district. So this is to be done. And the item, wasteland to be distributed, the amount, how much is the wasteland to be distributed, forest land, some disposal of that, restoration of tribals' rights, tribals' lands back to them, how much area is there, what is to be done and all that. But he said, we fellows are transferred every 6 months. How the hell are you going to do it? I told him that you are right. I don't know whether I would be here for 6 months or 6 years. If you are in the good books, they keep you for 6 years. So I said, but I have decided myself that I have to stay here for 3 years. That is my assumed tenure. I may be transferred after 8 months. That's a different thing. If it is 3 years, I identified the problems by getting all the information. I said, per year, this is what I need to do. For the year 75 to 76, this is what I would do. I had called all my officers, gave the sort of subdivisional and divisional and taluka-wise targets to them. I said, we should not fail in this. We must do these things. Luckily, I stayed there for 2 years. And in 2 years, we achieved the entire targets, I tell you. It was the first district in the country to have restored almost about 50,000 acres of forest land, not forest land, tribal land, back to the tribals. Tribal land is not supposed to be alienated to the non-tribals, but everybody went there and took away. So there are so many stories like this. So it is the will to deliver which motivates you, So I just thought I would tell you that. And coming to this one, I must congratulate CIPS to have called this meeting. Now, CIPS has been there for about 5 years. He was one of our first directors. He had done very well. The idea is, this is a unique organization, as you know. In fact, in government, there is no other organization like this devoted to innovation. There is an innovation foundation in Ahmedabad, but that is mostly to do with, NGOs and then some technology-oriented things and all. Not so much in the process. Then there used to be a Innovation Council, but which has been wound up. Leaving those, I think this is one of the organizations. The idea is, wherever there are things, success stories and good innovations done, they must be replicated elsewhere. First, create a database. And he had done an excellent work. About 500 cases were taken, and we thought these are all good innovations from covering the entire country, out of which about 24 of them have been done extremely detailed, the process detail, of that. And 10 of them we could implement till now, we have taken up for replication elsewhere. But we have found that there is a big problem in replicating them. They are all good processes, but replication does not happen. So why doesn't it happen, this replication? So I would come to that in a minute. But before that, we must understand what is the scope of innovation. Now, I told you that asking the man to come and set a date for his reply and all that, you may say this is an ordinary improvement in your administrative process, what is so great. But it has done a great, it has shaken up. And let me tell you, to share this one, nowadays if a popular collector is transferred, there are agitations. No, don't transfer him, he is doing so well. I think mine was one of the first cases when I was transferred. The entire district came to this one, they said, no, he should not be transferred. It's not popularity seeking, but the amount of work I had done. So people recognize work, good work. So we must know what is innovation, from where to where it goes. I think it would start from small things like that to major changes in the governmental policy. Major shift, instead of following this policy which has not delivered goods to you, people should think and take a different policy, or a different approach, or a different institution, or a different way of doing things. So the scope is vast, right from the smallest in the field to the topmost governance, this one. So that is the scope of it. So when you talk of innovation, there are certain other words which you must always keep in your mind. What happens is, in 1990s, early 90s or mid 90s, there was a beautiful book written called Reinventing the Government. I don't know how many of you have read. Osborne, the first name I forget, Osborne is the chap. It's called Reinventing the Government. You must read that book, every one of you. Sorry? Out of? Yeah, David Osborne. So you must read that book, and it is a beautiful, this one. He says how government, he gives a title. It should be an enterprising government, it should be a cooperative government, it should be a people's governance. And then he gives examples in each one of those things, It should be a competitive government. Within the government itself, you can create competition. Municipal corporation is there, garbage removal is there. It's all given to one agency, or the municipal workers do. How do you compare whether they are doing better than somebody else? So why don't you create a competition between one ward and another ward, and then institute a reward system between those two? So there are a lot of innovations, which can be done. So reinventing the government, in a way, is a major innovative process. Innovation includes that. Good governance, when you talk of good governance, that also includes a number of these things. Then replicating good practices, success stories, so you want to spread those things. Then these are all reforms in government. Now this is another thing. You see, our system is still working. I think in India, there is a tremendous need for the innovation, because all the systems in place in India are a legacy of the British government. They had, you see, they are all constitutionalists. There are the other problems, and then they apply the law and all that. So systems have been created. Incidentally, Indian Penal Code, which was passed in 1861, has perhaps been amended only 2-3 times. It has not been amended. Some other damn law, Constitution of India has been amended 101 times. So there is so much of forethought and thinking has gone into that, and that's how things are done. But one way or the other, all the systems, our judicial system, our police system, our railway system, everything is a sort of a legacy from the British which is coming. We are tinkering with that. If it is not working, you just do some, what do you call, band-aid. Idhar lagao, band-aid. Wahi chal raha hai. Otherwise, it has come to a stage where it's going to collapse, let me tell you. Every system, our institutions, our CBI, our Vigilance Commission, and various other organs, including judiciary, as I said. I think that's why people are talking about educational reforms, they are talking electoral reforms, they are talking this reform. Tell me an area where people are not talking of reforms. Now, reforms are based on what? If you have to continue the same system as in the past, and the same procedures, same policies, same emphasis, there's no reform. So innovation has to come into all these things, That's why think big when you are thinking of innovation, not merely the smallest thing at the field level. I can give hundreds of examples at the field level which have made a huge difference to life. They're important. But this is also important, Then, it can range from a small procedural change to improve the efficiency of a patwari. The patwari is there, a village fellow, how he is working. His work also can be improved by systems. One of the best systems I have known is in Maharashtra. It's called the Anderson's Manual. That gentleman had written in those days the records that have to be maintained by a talati, we call it talati patwari, and then how it is useful. The entire base for your statistical structure in India is based on this, because we all live in the villages. And if everybody can follow that Anderson's Manual, I tell you, there would be no discrepancies, there would be no problems in the record of rights, land records. Land records are in a mess, we say, are the crop statistics and all that. So, again, implementation of them is very important, So, a small change can improve the efficiency and to a major innovative change brought about in governance, organization, and policies and practices. Now, why innovate at all? So, who would innovate? I have said, but why innovate? Why should India do it? I said it is all collapsing. Second thing is increasing expectations from the citizens. Citizens are not going to sit quiet. They are going to agitate if things do not happen. If you promise certain things and don't happen. So, citizens' pressure, increasing expectation from the citizens is one reason. The second is global competition. Now, everywhere, you have to depend on foreign money, foreign inflows and all those things, trade and all those things. And there what happens, international comparisons are being made. Ease of doing business. Now, unless you have improved it, we are not going to do business with you. Because you take bloody 3 months to to register a land sale deed or whatever it is, we are not going to come. So, the government is doing certain things, but still more lot of things have to be done. And land registration, I think, is one area, I think, where there is a lot of improvement that is required. So, global competition, and then comparisons. I gave one example of ease of doing business. There is something called Global Innovation Index. Now, where do we stand on the Global Innovation Index? I think we are number 60. China comes around 26 or so. There is no point in criticizing China. China in that comes at 26, we are at number 60. In the last 2-3 years, we have increased from 66 to 60, That's what we have done. So when the people are comparing internationally and globally, if you don't change, you would not survive. That's why you need to change. The third one is the growing financial constraints. If you are trying to do the work in the same manner, with the same amount of resources, I tell you, your finances would not be adequate. So you need to cut that. So how do you sort of see that resources are saved? A third area. The fourth one is rapid urbanization. Now the entire world is urbanizing, and when the people come here, there are a lot of pressures here, high pressure, and then public infrastructure. It has to be built in a more efficient manner, more quickly. I have seen abroad. In China, I go, it is a plain ground, land is being leveled. I have gone after 3 months, there is a 40-story or 80-story building already there. Now here we take, for an ordinary house, you want to construct your bungalow, it takes not less than 1.5 years or 2. So there are technologies, but there are processes also. So all these things. So the growing rapid urbanization is another reason why this is important. And then what drives this one? Innovation. One of the greatest drivers is technology. The new technology which has come, and that it's not that you have just adopted one technology today. Technology is rapidly changing, so you have to keep on changing with that and adopt that. Why India has done well, I would come into some examples where that has happened, So I think that is a driver. Then some achievements. It is not that India has been a sort of just lying like that only and not improved. I think e-governance we have improved tremendously in many areas. And then mobile governance, I am sure you are aware of that. It has been used very effectively in the border areas. You know, the Pakistan border and the Bangladesh border, it can be used anywhere. An engineer says, or an irrigation project, he says the work has been done, I have done the foundation or I have done the ceiling. You don't know whether he is telling the truth or when he has done it and all that. So time and the location specific, he has to send a report with a picture. This is the status of this. He can't bluff any longer. So use of mobiles, extremely important, you know. So mobile governance, from e-governance you have gone into mobile governance. Now look at the changes we have brought about. We don't have to condemn ourselves. Railway reservations, it used to be a misery. You know, you have to go to the general manager's office or some damn anybody in the clerk and ask him to get you a ticket reservation. Now things have streamlined greatly. Income tax refunds, people used to beg. Now they come on your own. And then police challans, our friend is here. If there is a traffic violation here, in about 10 days time you would get a challan. He says, your car has been wrongly parked in such a place. Nobody questioned you. Nobody has even seen you. Or he says you are found speeding at such a place, you jumped the red light, and then this is a fine, you pay up the fine. Otherwise, you have to go to the court. And then where to pay is also there. You don't have to step out of your house. Your picture also is given. I mean, in case you say where your car is parked and all that. This is improvement. So if you compare, because I am an old fellow, you know, 1961 batch IASO and goes into ancestry, so I can think of those things, how things have improved, you know. Land records. Now land records used to be such a big problem. Now there are what are called Ma Bhumi, Mi Bhumi and all those things, you know. Bhumi is land. So there are records, there are defects. The names are, you know, wrong and some survey numbers are wrong. But I think these things have improved. So all this can be done by you, gentlemen, in any particular area. And areas where, one more innovation I would tell you is, I don't know why other states have followed now, everybody. Arogyashri, which was introduced during the Congress regime in the combined Andhra Pradesh. It is a medical insurance scheme. So they said, for all below poverty line fellows who have that, that there are many more undeserving below poverty line fellows, that is a different thing. You know, you have to weed out those cards and all that. But genuine fellows, there is a medical insurance. There are items like in the central government health scheme, CGHS, there is a list what operations can be done. You can go to any hospital and get it done. Hospitals are happy, these people are happy. In fact, they are extremely happy. Every state has now given a new name to it and then has been adopting this insurance policy. Jan Aushadhi business also is a good scheme, I tell you. But for the last, I was working as a performance monitoring team in the government of India till quite recently, till Mr. Modi came, 2014. For about 5 years, we were talking about Jan Aushadhi things, you know. In 2000 or 2009, we said we must establish about 300 of them in the, there are not even 30 now in the country. But somebody has to take it into his head, you know. There are problems. What are the problems? Where do you get the generic medicines? Would the doctors prescribe the generic medicines? What you need to do? So it is a process. The entire process has to be looked into, you know. So it can be done. So there are any number of examples which can be given on that. While on this, let me give you 2 examples of innovation which have happened in here recently. Land Acquisition Act, you are all aware how complicated it is. A lot of procedures, you know, public notice in regional language, you know, permissions from village panchayat, gram sabha, falana and all those things, and court awards. It would take a year and a half. You know, the entire land, you landed at the airport here, the entire land acquisition for airport, and there is a beautiful outer ring road here, a huge one. The entire land was acquired by negotiations by the government. People were called, they were asked, what do you expect? What is the market value? Okay. Then a question of time, this one. Do I spend a little more, 5%, 10% in giving it to him? Or do I delay my project for bloody 20 years, and then as cost would escalate 5 times more? What do I do? So decisions have been taken. Today, Andhra capital, it's a controversial whether the capital should be there or not. But Chandrababu Naidu, the CM of Andhra Pradesh, has got 33,000 acres of land. Not 1 acre has been acquired. It's all by land pooling. He called all the people, he pooled the land, and he said, you give me the land, in return I would give you developed land. He got the idea from developers, building developers. You have a piece of land, you don't have capital, you don't know what to do, you are a government servant. So some builder comes and says, sir, development agreement, you give it to me, half to you, half to me, 3 flats to you, 3 flats to me, whatever it is. So he said land pooling. Imagine, I think it is the biggest exercise in the country ever done. 33,000 acres of land acquired without a whimper of this one. Now, agricultural, this one, loans, subsidies and all that. There is a subsidy for fertilizer, there is a subsidy for seeds, there is a subsidy for electricity, there is a subsidy for something else, there is a subsidy for a particular crop, there is a subsidy for mechanization, if you get some. What this fellow did was, our Chandrasekhar Rao here, KCR, he said, look, abolish all these things. What I would do is, per acre of cultivation, you must only cultivate. You must give proof that you have cultivated. I would give you 8,000 rupees, a lump sum amount. You do what you want, no other subsidies. So 8,000 rupees, this one, how he arrived at 8,000 is, but people are happy. 8,000 rupees per acre, you have only to prove that a fallow land, or it need not be fallow also, regularly growing, you have grown a crop there. So everybody is appreciating it. So much of, otherwise, 5 different officers have to certify that he has got a proper seed, and he has got seed subsidy, he has got fertilizer subsidy, he has got pesticides. Pesticide subsidy also is there. All these damn things have been abolished. So much of labor has been abolished, with one stroke. So think, that's all that matters, nothing else. So in so many areas, these type of things can be done, I just thought I would mention that. Let me see if I have any more points to mention to you. Now, soil health monitoring is another great thing. People are saying, if you ask me what is missing in agriculture, the political element has said that you want to double the income in 5 years. Everybody criticizes him, where is the doubling? 2 years ho gaya, tumne kiya nahi, ho gaya. But the point is, what is it that you require? You ask anybody what is sort of missing in the agriculture, they would give you 35 to 40 reasons. Small holdings, uneconomic holdings, dry land farming, falana subsidy time par nahi milta hai, fertilizer nahi aata hai, remunerative prices nahi hai. I tell you, you can fill a big book with all the complaints, Well, what is important? What is main? What is the driving one, main points? I think according to me, there are 2. One is water, availability of water. If water is there, I tell you, crops would be grown. The second one is a remunerative price. I agree, there has to be a price, proper price. The third one is soil fertility. If the soil, if you have a disease, you go to the doctor and he gives you the proper medicine. If he gives you some other medicine, you would die. Now, there is a facility now for having the soil analysis and getting the things. We talk, but we don't do things, Now, if you enforce this in your particular area, soil health monitoring, I think tremendous things can be achieved, So, one is that, the other is delivery of services. As I said, in delivery of services also a lot of things can be done. I think in Oman, or maybe in one of the UAE republics, what they have done is, for electrical appliances, star rating is there. If you have a refrigerator and all that, depending on energy, stars. The fellows government servants who are giving service delivery, they are now star rating the delivery also. What is the quality of his delivery, what is the timeliness of delivery and all that, and giving you the sort of incentives for that, if you do that. I think one can try that. Now, One more thing, unfortunately, in India, I am a bureaucrat. Some of you must be maybe bureaucrats. Now, this permanent civil service has become a big hindrance, in a way. Because what happens is, once you are in the government service, you are not checked out. One of my colleagues used to tell me a joke. Padam, what you should do is, you should work, but you should work only that much that they don't throw you out. If you don't work, they would recognize that you are not working at all, so they would throw you out. But you should not work beyond this one also. Thoda kuch kaam karo bas, isse jyada nahi. So that's what he used to tell me. And that is generally the philosophy, So what Singapore had done is, they said bright students, you must be aware of it. If there are bright students, with potential, they picked up those fellows, and then they said, we would give you scholarships, and we would send you to the best of the universities in the world, Harvard, Wharton, whatever it is. But you give us a guarantee that for a minimum number of years you would work with the government, 5 years, 10 years and all that. That's how they took the talent from those chaps. You might say IAS examination is a talent-based one. Maybe, but there are so many other damn services. No. And how our public service commissions function. So at least somewhere, I think you should do that. And then they also encourage the government servants who are there. They also encourage the government servants to do their postdoctoral degrees for 2 years, 3 years. They sponsor and then pay the fees to go to the Harvard or whatever it is. And when you get back, you are again absorbed. So a lot of things can be done, Now, last point I wanted to mention, why innovations are not being replicated. I mean, our main job is to see that they are replicated. I have found 4 or 5 reasons. One is lack of knowledge of those things. That's what we are feeling now. Prepared a database, we are telling people, we are holding conferences like this and saying that why this is a good example in healthcare, in eye care, some other areas, and education, tribal education and all that. Incidentally, our advisor, Veerabhadrudu, where is he? He is missing. Oh, he is here. He is a great expert in tribal welfare and tribal education. So, in fact, he has just sent me a WhatsApp, so you should read that. So, you were talking about the Aurobindo, this one, no? Yeah. Okay, one is lack of knowledge. I think we are trying to fill that. So be in touch with us and try to find out what is happening. Or be in touch with the real innovators. We have no problem. We don't want to be a middleman here just to hinder you, The second thing is, the innovators themselves do not want to share information to some extent. And also they are shy of sharing information. He says, I have done, I must do, I have got my own work to do. Ye kisko share kare. Okay. That again, our organization can help you. Third is, it may not be suitable to your state or to your area. It may require tuning up. It may require some sort of modifications may be required. Look into that. Look into that and adopt. You can't adopt just like that. Fourth one is reluctance to adopt something discovered by somebody else, some innovation. Arey, oh, kiya hai, hame kya? I think that is wrong. If there is good anywhere, you should accept it. I think you should do that. The fifth one is, which is also important, risk of failure. Okay, I would try this, but suppose it fails. My boss would blame me, my sort of political boss would say, you have wasted money. I think the leadership of the people here who are leading the innovation, this one, they must understand this. And in every innovation, there is a risk. It may not work. But I think it is better to write off that money rather than not trying anything and then let the project costs and everything go up, Instead of that, I think these risks, which are acceptable risks, must be taken into account. The last one is sheer lethargy. I have no solution for that. If there is a lethargy, then, what is it called? Tamasic fellow, no? So he is all the time sleeping. So I think something you need to do. So with this, I would stop. And I require your expertise, your experience and your support to see that these innovations are spread and this innovation philosophy grows, and then we have very talented resource persons who have done work in the field. You can discuss with them. So I thought I would mention 2-3 things I wanted to mention is, prismatic society, you must have heard the word. What happens is we have adopted from the West The nomenclature, the structure, the organization, that's all. Beyond that, we don't do anything. Oh, if they have an innovation council, we must have an innovation council. Arey, council to hai, magar karega kya? I mean, so this is called prismatic. Only to some extent you adopt this one, but don't do the work, you know. Now, in every state, we have got an innovation council, state innovation councils. What are these people doing? Who is holding them responsible? I think they need to sort of exert themselves better and then provide the proper leadership. And in every district, there is a district innovation fund, some 5 crores or whatever it is. So, and then the training institutions, the administrative training institutions in each state, I think they can play a tremendous role, you know. Not just lip sympathy, just saying innovation, innovation, like a catchword, you know. But really work on that. I think if there is a coordination between the state councils, innovation councils, the state training institutions, and the real practitioners in the field, I think the chief secretaries and all those people also must realize these things, you know, and do that. And I think then we can be the first in the world. Otherwise, we would remain like this, let me tell you. We would be talking only of Ram Mandir, and we would be talking about something else, and nothing would happen. Jai Sitaram karke, you should just sit at home, you know. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope you would have a wonderful business session. It's more like a business session, not like a conference. So good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request our director, sir, to present a small souvenir to the chief guest. I request Mr. Avik Chakravarti, project officer, to render vote of thanks for this inaugural session.
Thank you, sir, and good morning to all of you. It's my privilege to be here, and I am really honored to deliver the vote of thanks. So let me take this opportunity to extend my heartiest thanks to our Honorable Chairman, Sri K. Padmanabhaya, sir, to spare his valuable time to be here and to share his thoughts in the inaugural address. I would also like to thank you, our Director, sir, Sri Achilendra Reddy, sir, for presiding the session. And let me also extend my thanks to our advisors, sir, Virachina Virabhadrudu, sir, to deliver the welcome address and to give a brief introduction about CIPS and also about the conference. So with this note, we would break for tea, but before that, a small request is there. We will have a group photo outside. So if you can kindly join us for the group photo, and then we can have our tea for around 10 minutes. Thank you.